Welcome to Nassau Community College Forum. This program explores our rich educational environment, including our dedicated faculty, administration, student clubs, and more than 70 fields of study, along with the students who make this college the largest single-campus community college in the state and is the first choice for one of every 4 college-bound high school graduates in Nassau County.
Hello, I'm Kevin Boston Hill, and welcome to Nassau Community College Forum, where each week we will shine a spotlight on a different department, club, or area here at Nassau Community College. Today, we'll explore the Department of Africana Studies. Our guest today is Dr. Georgette Grier-Key. Welcome to the Nassau Community College Forum on 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure, our pleasure. So, before we get into exactly what the Department of Africana Studies is all about and what it offers, tell our listeners a little bit about you. What kind of brought you to the Nassau Community College community? Well,
I am a graduate of Nassau Community College, an alumni. I grew up right here in Unionville, graduate of Unionville High School. I won't tell you what year, but you know what? I might as well, because the class of 93 is one of the best class that came through 93. We are still together. We've had maybe 3 class reunions. And I know there's a lot of people who are jealous of that. So I'm a local girl, and I'm proud to be an alumni of the school. So the kind of being right here from the community and being a pillar in Nassau County is really what brought me here to the school.
Great. So a homegrown girl and made good and decided to come back and give back to the school that kind of, I guess, birthed her in some respects.
Exactly.
Excellent. So, let's get right down to it. What does the Department of Africana Studies actually encompass? What is that department all about?
Well, I think the department works with several different departments. We work with the history department. We work with the communications department. We offer a lot of courses within dance and music. So we really are a department that encompasses many of the other departments and work within the community, the greater community, the college community. So we really are trying to foster a well-rounded education for students to really explore what kind of education they would like to see that will give them opportunities to explore going into social sciences and give them the background that will transfer into any type of education that they want to go into in the future.
Okay. So basically, it's a lot more than just what it may appear on the surface as being like just a Black history course, a Black history department. It's a lot more than that, is basically what you're saying.
Exactly. It really allows them to go into whether they want to go into human services. It gives them a well-rounded understanding of the social sciences as well. So I think it's a program that really gives them the transferable skills that they will need to work within even literature, an understanding of history, an understanding of communications,
right.
Working with different populations, working within the education system. So I think it's one of the programs that allows them to explore and not so much be a fit into a narrow focus. So it does really give them a well-rounded understanding of working with various populations, multiculturalism. Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed from looking at the description was, at least the course offerings were involved in the degree. There's a lot of a heavy emphasis on writing and composition classes. Was that by design, or is that by happenstance, or what was the thought behind having all of those heavy composition courses in there?
Well, I think a lot of having those courses under your belt, I think it's very important to have a lot of the composition and writing under your belt. I think it's a cross discipline that is very necessary, and I think it's something that you need. Not only is it something that you need, it's something that's really unique for the program, and so to speak. This year is really important because that's one of the things that we happen to be assessing across the board, and it's one of those things that's the college initiative for this last year, so it's really something that is very current for the time right now. But I think as a liberal arts college, that's really important, one of the initiatives that we are focusing on all the time.
Got it. Now, a while ago, I had the representative from Library Services in here and finding out what they do a lot. And so when you were talking about all the different areas and other departments that you work with, is Library Services one of those? And how would you kind of foster that type of relationship among your students to really go and learn research from that area?
Well, I think one of the things that's really important to have a well-rounded student is to utilize all of the services that we offer here. I, for one, I love the banner system. I often speak and show my students directly through the banner system how they can access the library database system. For one, we always talk about the students growing up with computers and all these systems, and Netflix is expensive. I show them exactly how to go to the library database and go online and look at the database. And we have this thing called Canopy. It's a database online where they can go and watch films, but also showing them how to do scholarly research and what's acceptable. Google is nice. Wiki is nice. But you know what? When we're doing research, what is an acceptable scholarly research? And letting them see that this is what we need to have included in our research. If you're doing a bib, this is an acceptable source that you must use. So I'm always showing them. They don't want to always go to the library, but more and more they're starting to go. But if you don't go, here is how you access the library through an online database and utilize this as a resource. So they're doing it more and more. They're using the library. They're physically going there. And if they're not, they're able to access this online. And they're really starting to enjoy and use it. And more I'm seeing, and they're using those resources because we have to show them how to include what is acceptable, especially in this era, where we have all of these new terms like alternative facts.
And fake news.
Yes, and they're getting their news from Facebook, which is something that I'll speak for my own generation, that we've never gotten our news off of Facebook, and I still watch Channel 12 News.
Of course, I'm sure most of us still get our news from I guess our older generation.
Or should we say traditional news sources?
Traditional news sources like your CNNs, your New York Times, and things of that nature. Yeah. Exactly. So now we have to, how do we adjust and adapt to the new outlets of news in this 24-hour news cycle? So you are listening to Nassau Community College Forum on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Once again, my name is Kevin Boston Hill, and our guest today is Dr. Georgette Grier-Key from the Department of Africana Studies. Now, something that we didn't cover, or you didn't cover too much in our opening, but I want to let our listeners know exactly who I have sitting here, because I was looking over your bio, and I thought it was amazing that you're the executive director and curator of the Eastville Community Historical Society in Sag Harbor, vice president of the Association of Suffolk County Historical Societies, cultural partner for Sylvester Manor. And it just goes on, advisor to Long Island Indigenous People Museum and Research Institute. It's amazing that you even have time to sit here with me to even have this conversation. So I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about some of those other projects that you're involved with on Long Island?
Well, I kind of fell into some of this work. Originally, I wanted to be an artist, and I kind of didn't know that I would end up here, but I am so happy and I'm grateful that all of my experiences have landed me to do the work that I'm doing now. I have a background in art and real estate, land use, municipal properties. And when I was in Sag Harbor, I worked at the Parish Art Museum, Guildhall, and various places. And my godmother said, I have this historical society. They need some help, and I want you to come over here and check it out. And so I started working there, and I realized quickly, I'm like, oh my God, old things, dead people and cemeteries. I want nothing to do with it. But I figured out that I could do exhibits and art there. So that's why I said yes. And then more and more, I realized how important preserving history was. So it started off with me being able to do art there. And then I started to think about the fact that both sides of my grandparents came up during the second wave of the Great Migration, and realizing their stories and putting it together, and then seeing the cemetery and the old AME Zion Church and how it tied directly to my family that came up and wanted to be close and live next to Hempstead Plains, and they worked at Grumman, and all of the different things that my direct family was involved with. And so connecting that to my past and my Gullah history. So it all came together, and I'm just so grateful that I'm here to be able to preserve the history and do what it is I love to do, art. It just came together, and I'm so grateful that there are remnants of the history that is still left here that for me to preserve. So when I am a part of all of these projects, it's like I'm a part of it because there's not that many of us that is able to do this history on Long Island.
Right.
So I often get called on. I want to say no, but I can't. It's like the ancestors like, listen, there's not that many people that can do it, so you have to do it. So sometimes I'm stretched wide, but I have to do it.
Yeah, it's like if not me, then who?
Yeah.
Right. Then that's how you kind of take it. So let me ask you this then. Do you actually teach classes here also in the department?
Yes, I do.
And which ones?
I do teach classes. Originally, I was in the history department, and now I am over in Africana Studies. But I teach History 104, 103. I was teaching specifically a local Long Island history course that was created by Professor Nicholson, which is Nassau County History 140, which is my specialty course. And now I'm teaching African American History 1. So I teach History 103, 104, History 106, and History 140 and AFR 176.
Wow. That's a full load.
And I have a special initiative. We received a grant from the Robert David Lyon Gardner Foundation.
Okay.
It's a 3-year grant where we started a local initiative called the Long Island Initiative, which is a Long Island local a Long Island History Institute, where we are having a Saturday series. We run it in the summer, and we are running it this fall. So that's look out for that information, and we run a history symposium.
Okay, great. And if they wanted to find out more of that information, is there a website, or can they go to the NCC website? How can they find out about that in the future?
They definitely can go to the NCC website. Okay. There was a press release that was placed out, I think maybe a couple of months ago, but there should be something coming soon. And they can always come to my office, H125.
There you go. So aside from the wide array of courses that not only that you teach, but also that are offered in the Africana Studies department, are there any kind of like special projects or initiatives that the students can get involved with?
Definitely the History Institute and the History Project, the local history project. We are working on an oral history initiative where we're looking to train students to go into the community and do these oral history projects. We have special equipment that is coming, and so we're looking to train students on this equipment. Also scanners where we want the community to bring in their very specific pictures that they, most community families have things in attics and in drawers that they don't think that is valuable. This is how the National Museum was started.
Right.
People had things that they didn't care about. Today no one has physical albums anymore. Everybody has pictures on their phones.
Exactly.
So that's what we want to get out into the community and ask them for. You don't have to give us the pictures. Can we have a scan of it or a picture of it, high definition picture? We want to create an online database that's accessible to the general public, where it's searchable. So that's a big project that we're going to need students to help us with.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. You are listening to Nassau Community College Forum. I'm Kevin Boston Hill, and my guest today is Dr. Georgette Grier-Key from the Department of Africana Studies. We'll be right back after this important message on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
I'm a college student and could use advice about my student loan.
I had to leave school and go to work. Now I have to pay back student loans for a degree I don't have. Fortunately, I found assistance.
Back in college, I figured they wouldn't lend me more than I could easily pay back. Boy, was I wrong. Thankfully, I got the help I needed to pay back my loan in full.
Sound familiar? The good news is that student loan repayment options are available. We're the NFCC, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, a nonprofit organization with member offices nationwide that provide comprehensive financial reviews and student loan counseling. NFCC certified consumer credit counselors provide one-on-one financial counseling and can help you evaluate options for making student loan payments, reducing interest, debt consolidation, or even loan rehabilitation. Call 877-406-6322 or visit us online at studentloanhelp.org.
We now return to Nassau Community College Forum.
You are listening to Nassau Community College Forum. I'm Kevin Boston Hill, and my guest today is Dr. Georgette Grier-Key from the Department of Africana Studies. So we left out of the break, going into the break, talking about how some of the new projects and initiatives that your students can get involved with while they're here. So let's talk a little bit more about some of how do you bring students, like the students that you teach, do you get them to get involved with some of the outlets that you're actually involved with? We spoke earlier about all of the different societies and organizations that you're a part of. Do you ever bring some of your students to work with you out there, or to at least mention it to them that they have that at their disposal?
Well, this is one of the things that I'm really trying to work on. A lot of the times the organizations that are in the community, you hear that there is a divide between generations. They're always saying, we want to get the next generation involved. And I think this is something that the field has to address. Mm-hmm. How often do you go to a museum or an organization and it's been that way for 50 years? They have things that students can't touch, and there may be a sign that says you can't touch, or a rope that is across. And that's the first thing that students or children or people want to touch, because it's like hands off. Right. Or it's just stale and it's old and it's something that's on a page and it's dead. In order to, I think, engage the community or people, you have to be alive. And I really do think that history, and believe that history is alive. Yes. Even in my classroom, but you have to be careful with that also, because even though history is alive, you have to be so careful not to, the circumstances are different. So you have to be careful with that too. So I must just give a disclaimer about that, because of course the times are different, but you do have to make them understand that, like they say with fashion, 70s always comes back. But at the same time, we have to be careful. But you have to make them understand that immigration was always a problem in this country. Okay, so having them understand that, when I say that in my class, their eyes pop open. And so just using little things like that and letting them see that, we don't have to just look on the page. We can look to today and make those analogies and let them understand that you don't have to remember dates and times. And it's not always about, just the founding fathers, or it's not about the vernacular architecture. We can look at some of the meager structures that you wouldn't think are important. Yeah. That could have been a slave structure. They are important too, because they add to the built environment, and the built environment includes marginalized people and women and the others that may have not been what we think as beautiful or traditional, architecture that we would have praised previously. Right.
No, you're absolutely right. It's what's old is new again. And because everything works in a cycle. So the issues that we were dealing with since the founding of this country, we're still dealing with. And things tend to quell a little bit, but then they rise and they dip and then they rise all over again. So I guess the more that we can understand that aspect of it, the more we see how connected we actually are, especially generationally, how we are connected. It's funny how when you mentioned about the museums, and I immediately thought about, and I'm taking it into the sports realm a little bit, but I immediately thought about the difference between like the baseball museum the baseball museum up in Cooperstown and the Hall of Fame for basketball, and how completely different they are, because the baseball Hall of Fame is just like, it's a museum. It's dark and it's hands off. You can't touch anything. But the basketball is very interactive. People can go in, they can shoot around, they can measure themselves against some of the taller players and things. And I think, like you said, that's where we need to get if we really want our young people to take a liking and an interest in things of the past. We have to make it more interactive. We have to bring those technologies in that they're used to so that they can sit in and really appreciate what's happening.
And can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Well, only because I'm not into sports, but my cousin, who happens to be a female, and I always get excited because I was in Tennessee and I met a military historian. I'm like, whoa, you rock, a military historian who's a female. But the other thing is, too, I think it's important to show the evolution of things.
Yes.
And I had no idea that the rules of basketball and the rules of baseball, how they changed over time. Mm-hmm. I think that's fascinating, too. And why did those rules change? How did they change, and what's the difference?
Right.
So I think that's also an important history to include in the museums. Do they do that? Like, why did the rules change? I didn't know that. I thought that was fascinating since you're talking about sports.
No, you're absolutely right. They do, and you can see the entire evolution of things of that nature and how it goes. But yeah, those are talking points. And as long as we can get people talking about those things, that's where we can, like I said, we can find those connections and those similarities. So you are listening to Nassau Community College Forum on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name, once again, is Kevin Boston Hill, and our guest today is the amazing Dr. Georgette Grier-Key from the Department of Africana Studies. Let me ask you this for a moment, and so we can maybe explore a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about, or tell me a little bit about what Emerge is, and I guess also how people, especially your students, might be able to get involved in that.
Emerge, and is that something you have from my bio?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the other thing is with Emerge is we always have to think about one of the things that is really important when you think about research, right? Mm-hmm. Not only research, I think you have to turn research and how you turn research and resources and economics into something that is tangible. Not only into tangible, something that is intangible, also something that is visible.
Right.
And governance, and something that is in your community. A lot of the times, one of the things I talk to my students about, all of our founding documents are in script. If you ask your students today, how many of you can read? I can't even write my notes to my students, or if I'm correcting a paper, in script because they can't read my handwriting.
Right.
Although I still do it because I'm hoping that they'll go home and ask their parents, what does this say, Mom? Or sometimes they will come, or Dad, or sometimes they'll come up to me and say, can you tell me what this says? Believe it or not, and they really do come to me. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because I think we have to have more control over our immediate community organizations. So what Emerge does is we try to take control over our community organizations. We encourage people to run for their school boards. We encourage people to run for their library boards. We encourage people to have civic organizations, because these organizations control what developments are actually coming into your communities. For instance, if a developer tries to come in your community, you want to come into our community? What kind of organization is? How many jobs are they going to have that are temporary, maybe permanent? Are you going to have a mixture of businesses? Is there going to be commerce? What kind of business is it going to be? So it puts back in the hands of your immediate community not only the research of what's coming in, the governance of it, the ratio and mixture of it, and it's a direct partnership so that it's not just leaving your community with a box. So that's was the idea about Emerge. So it's research, commerce, education, and governance.
Gotcha. So for those who may not have picked it up, but the acronym EMERGE stands for Empowering Minorities Through Educational Research, Government, and Private Enterprise. So again, it does everything that Dr. Grier-Key has just mentioned. Let me ask you this: how, therefore, going back to the work that we do that you have done in the community and putting everything, keeping the history alive, how much of a emphasis on the contributions of African Americans and even Latinos in the Long Island area do we focus on?
Well, all of the work that we've been here for a long time. And the fact that we've been here for a long time, it dates back before it's on Long Island. We've been here before, we have even been a country. Yeah,
I mean, there are some communities out in like Eastern Suffolk that I'm like, there are black people out here?
Oh, we've been here.
Like we got way out here?
Oh, yeah. We've been here, as far back as, 1619.
Wow.
So, yeah, we've been here before before it was the United States, before it was British colonial America. So we've been here for a very long time. And I think that's part of why the research that I've been doing and working on for a long time, it's really important because I always say, and there's a couple of projects that I've worked on, and one of them is called Hidden in Plain Sight. And when you think about development of Long Island, and many of us know, I worked on a couple of projects with Urban League. Just recently, we worked on something with Policy Link, the state of Black Long Island, and we're currently working on another project with the Long Island Museum. It's a slavery project, but we know that slavery in this country was not just for brown and black people. So we work constantly to tell the story that is something that is hidden in plain sight, that is forbidden for most people, that include indigenous people. So we have multiple stories here, but when you think about development, when you think about how Long Island has been one of the most segregated places to live, how you think about suburbia, how you think about the timeline of segregation, how you think of the timeline of Jim Crow, we have a multifaceted story right on up to even the progressive times.
Wow.
So we have a very diverse story on Long Island. We're a microcosm of America, including to music, to Robin Moses, to 495, to Model T cars, to aviation.
Yeah.
Our story goes on and on. But we've been here for a very long time. And not only have we contributed, we are pioneers, even contributing to Grumman, the story that we tell. So we are pioneers, the music industry. So we have been here. We have contributed. We've left the imprint here, and we're still here to survive and tell the story.
That's amazing. I mean, I had a chance to visit the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. as part of the Smithsonian Museums. And now I'm thinking after your conversation that, we need to do something similar to that right out here on Long Island, and to showcase all the different contributions that are here. So I thank you for that information. I wanted to ask you this last thing, and then we'll close with this. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Grier-Key from the Department of Africana Studies, for being here today. The NAACP gave you a legacy award. So what would be your final words on legacy, and what does that mean to you for our students?
Onward and upward.
Gotcha. Onward and upward, everyone. So once again, thank you for being here today. And my name is Kevin Boston Hill. Thank you all for listening to Nassau Community College Forum right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.